champions of ECS Season 6 as Astralis and MIBR fight it out in the grand finals. It all comes down to this. Will Astralis manage to claim their third ECS title, or will MIBR crush the dreams of the defending champions? Texas, are you ready? Sounds like you guys are well and truly warmed up. So without further ado, please welcome your grand finalists, MIBR and Astralis, to the stage.
Bora, galera, vamos assistir aí, vamos torcer pra MIBR. Eles estão engasgados na nossa garganta. Mas bora aí. Ganhar vai ser bom, hein? Hoje é o dia de ganhar e lavar a alma.
Astralis and MIBR. You couldn't have asked for a greater final. Two of the teams that are at the tippy top of this castle. It started with 8, and these are the two most likely candidates to put on a show in this grand final. 3 maps is all we'll have of the 7, and we have got a star-studded stage, Jacob, to indulge ourselves in.
We sure have. I think we have the 2 best playing teams so far in this tournament. We have the Danes and Astralis, who won a lot of tournaments recently. Do they get bored of winning, Alex? I'm not too sure, but this one is going to be a good one.
Look, fresh off of that show match victory, I can tell you, victory, it just feels good.
You don't get bored of that feeling, do you?
Honestly, I feel like I've had like a special coffee this morning.
It's time to retire for you.
Try to describe the feeling for me, Alex. I would like to know.
No, but victory is absolutely imminent for one of the 2 teams taken to the stage. And if you want to feel like a winner, you can get involved on social media as well. Use the hashtag ECS6. What is it, Jason?
ECS6.
There it is.
That's
you
good.
see? That's nice and easy. You can get involved on YouTube as well. If you're watching, of course, you can go ahead and subscribe and click Get Loot to get loot. They've been giving away 18 million.
They're giving away a car
points
at some point too, aren't they?
Well, I mean, I don't think
You got to get there.
Yeah, you have to climb.
Yeah, you just get the points.
But it is, yeah, you're on your way to a car if you click Get Loot. Instead of exclamation mark drop, which we all know doesn't work. One last bit of housekeeping to get out of the way before we talk about the Counter-Strike is, of course, that merch. It goes all the way through to Monday. They're doing a Black Friday sale, so if you want to go ahead and represent ECS or face it, you can do so by heading to this link. Cool, job done. Let's talk about the Counter-Strike. We have Astralis and MIBR, and I can't help but feel very excited to see which MIBR we see. Jason, should we play recap? Let's get to this grand final first. For those of the members of the public that didn't quite catch all of the action, let's start at the very beginning. I mean, this is MIBR playing better than we've seen, of course, not too long ago over in Copenhagen.
Yeah, I mean, they obviously had a disastrous Copenhagen and not a very good Chicago following that either. Those were 2 very tough events, and obviously after those events, I know they kind of had the idea, like, we can't have that happen 3 times in a row. This is where we need to buckle down now and change some things and look at how we're playing and put some real work in, and they've obviously done that to a very good degree. Stewie talked about it in the interview yesterday, the work that Yanko and Fallen have done together to kind of figure out how to get those guys more involved and how to make them feel more comfortable, and it's showing. Yeah. But obviously the big thing on MIBR be able to stop Mouse Sports in that first stage. The big one is that best of 3 win in the group stage over Astralis, 2-1. Yeah, and that's the win for MIBR. If you go all the way back to Istanbul, Astralis beat MIBR in a series in the grand finals there. So I mean, this is kind of the tiebreaker now.
This is the one. Yeah, I mean, essentially to end their 2018, a bit of a rivalry brewing, Jacob. And that was, of course, one route. But Astralis, they were thrown into the lower bracket and didn't really feel like they broke too much of a sweat, as you can see there in that semi-final.
No, I mean, Astralis is a team that we have described as being slow starters as of lately, despite them winning all the tournaments and doing well. They seem to start out a little bit slow, coming in, you know, a little bit rusty and maybe not in full gear. We often talk about Astralis playing on the C level or the B level, but it seems to me that they've found out a way, you know, to win at the C level and now be ready with the A level when they go into the grand finals. We last saw it in Chicago, where they just absolutely dismantled Team Liquid after a rather rocky tournament where you were initially thinking into the final that this could be a close one, but Astralis just came out blazing, and it was a one-man show right there.
Yeah, I am really looking forward to this one. We're going to start talking maps, we're going to start talking win conditions and all of that good stuff. But let's go ahead and get hyped for this grand final first.
Bora.
So now, Arlington, Texas, get ready as the Danish Astralis, the #1 team on the planet, face the Brazilians MIBR. So all you fans out there, grab some good Texas barbecue, put your cowboy boots up, take a swig of that good old-fashioned black gold tea, and get ready for an epic old-fashioned Texas shootout. Yeah! Ladies and gentlemen, this
Aí, nossa taça tá chegando, hein? Bora.
versus MIBR. It's going
It certainly is going down, and which team will fall is the question. We start with the Danes. Now, I feel like somewhat of a man living a Groundhog Day reality every time I talk about Astralis, because there are so many points that you have to hit, and all of them have existed for like 8 months now as they've continued to climb for this top spot.
They've really capitalized on I mean, this isn't necessarily the reason that they're winning, but they're very much capitalizing on the fact that there were some teams with some confusion earlier in this year that they were able to kind of take advantage of, and that's when they really had their rise, and they solidified it, and they've been so far ahead that everyone's playing catch-up, and there was always, there's that section where there's some roster mania and teams get a little bit further back, and I said this when that was going down, you're not going to beat Astralis by doing roster moves, right? You need to be a complete team the way that they are, you need to learn how to play the game better as teams, you need to use utility, use map control, and this team has just mastered all these different facets so much so.
If you had to kind of think, like, put your thinking cap on Jacob and Jason, what do you think people have tried in terms of, like, people have tried to beat Astralis in a variety of different ways, Jacob? What's been tried? What's been attempted in the past?
I mean, obviously the first thing you go to when you look at a team like Astralis is the anti-strat part. You want to go in and you want to, you want to know the game down to the narrow. You want to know what smokes they throw. You want to know what nades they're throwing. You want to know how they rotate and how they build up the game. So obviously anti-stratting is a big part of it. But next level is, as you said, adopting into their play and stealing their good ideas. That's something top teams do all the time against each other. Even teams like LDLC or the tier 2 and tier 3 teams down there, they come up with some good ideas. And there's plenty of top teams out there stealing ideas from each other. So there's definitely been many top teams also trying to implement some of the way that Astralis plays with their nades, for example. You see that doing a lot of damage and being very efficient with the flashbangs as well.
So this team are shifting an entire game's competitive meta, would be a summary.
They sure have.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it started with the nades, right? They were the first team that could really show that you can actually bring HE nades back into this, which and actually coordinate them well enough to do massive amounts of damage. The problem if you're going to anti-strat Astralis and steal things is that, they're just so far ahead and you're always playing a step behind.
You certainly are. We're going to hear from Astralis now as they sat down with the camera crew before this grand final.
I think ECS has a very nice touch to it. It's very player friendly, like it's very relaxed.
ECS is definitely a really good tournament. We just like it to play a lot because it's an online league that builds into a final, and you can really feel the build up, the hype going on.
The flow and the feeling of playing good in my team is very unique, I think. I don't think I've experienced anything like that in my previous rosters.
It's kind of weird, right? Because you never know how you get there. Sometimes you're just there.
That is when everybody is taking a lot of initiative. Like if Device is saying, I'm gonna go peak mid,
Like everything's just working out for you, right? If you do a mistake, you never get punished for it.
that's the best part of my job.
Once we get our game flowing, I think we play some of the best Counter-Strike ever.
Os caras estão jogando muito, mano. Vai dar um trabalhinho. É isso aí, né? Brasil é um time de superação. Vamos pra cima.
Works for us, and we need to show the rest of the world that we're here to stay as the best team in the world. Yeah, I'm super nervous.
I think it's really tough to be the team that everyone wants to beat. Not only are they stealing your stuff, but they also know how to counter it a lot because they have been looking so much at it. I just expect us to play a little bit better than we did in Chicago, be a little more consistent, be a little more hype, a little more pumped when we play, and just show a really strong level.
The goal for this tournament is obviously to win.
The goal is to win, as we always do.
Senta e espera.
Wow! Dupree bringing some sass, and they certainly have managed to get pretty damn close. In the grand finals, MIBR standing in their way, but I mean, I feel like I learned quite a lot from that video there, Jason.
With Danish people, it's almost like, how many trophies do you have to win before you really feel comfortable putting some spice out there, isn't it?
That's the best.
Finally, Dupree is doing some of that. So it only takes, what, 6, 7 apparently in the last 10?
I think that's 7 now for you.
Yeah. So
2 stars on their jersey as well, don't forget, major champions twice now. Not many afforded that luxury. But the question I think that stood out for me from that interview was that Glaive talked about how difficult it is to stay on top, and he refers that everyone is looking at you, and I just can't even imagine the levels of depth you go into a game of Counter-Strike where people have seen the same thing you're doing hundreds of times in their preparation to play you.
I think it's something that we often forget to talk about, how impressive it is that Astralis actually have managed to stay on top for such a long time. It's all like you can't put on a direct referral to like sports, for example football or cycling for that matter, where you can't be on form for 365 days a year. I would apply some of the same ideas to Counter-Strike as well. You can't be mentally in shape a whole year round, so the fact that they've been able to take their time off and readjust and maybe win on their C and their B level even when they're not playing up to their best level, that's what's really impressive with this Astralis line, because we have talked about them making Counter-Strike and changing the meta, but we also seen a team that is able to dominate even when they're not at their best.
Yeah, and a team that we know all too well and are far too familiar with. Sometimes you're on, sometimes you're not. It is MIBR, and they spoke to the cameras as well. Let's have a look what they said.
Well, the goal in this tournament is always like a win, because every time we play a tournament to win. But I think like our team, we need this win because we need like confidence, and we are like we lost I think 5 tournaments in a row or something like that. It's like big tournaments.
Yeah.
So I talk like I don't. The game is all there is.
Bora falar então.
When you use those broken bones. It's all about the ride. Followed by the phone.
God.
It's hard to say how far we can get with this team. We have very high expectations on everyone in this team because everyone here has been.
Todo mundo criou uma grande
Everyone here
expectativa.
won majors, everyone won a lot of tournaments, and of course when we mesh all together we want to have the same fashion.
Back on another clutch, here comes Coldzera storming in with that Glock in hand. There's one player, and it's not even a contest with this man on the serve.
This preparation for this time was the best preparation we had, like for since we make this new team.
É por isso que vocês vão ganhar, cara.
Against everyone.
Bora, coach. Bora, eu tô sentindo que é hoje, hein? Troféuzinho
For sure we want
é
to try to
nosso.
finish the year stronger than we started, and it's yet to be seen what's going to be, so I'm going to try to do my best and achieve those results for everyone.
MIBR are stepping into the ring versus Astralis, and they sound prepared. Yeah, Jason, that fill you with confidence?
It does, and I think a little bit of the confidence comes from just talking to the players. They seem to have some weird confidence playing against Astralis, so they don't always have against some of the other teams. And I know part of it comes down to, I mean, it is just as a player, this is the match you want to be in when you're going up against a team and when you're going up against players who are at the peak of their game. You know it's going to be intense the entire way through, that it's going to be a battle, it's going to be a chess game. And that's where, a lot of these players on Astralis and MIBR are like, they all thrive. They all step up their game just a little bit more for whatever reason when they're in these. And as I said, this is that rubber match. This is going to break the tie that we have between Istanbul and the group stage here. And I mean, that's going to be a very, very sweet trophy to lift for one of these teams.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's just thickened by the fact that this is the third time they've met in a very short space of time. Best of threes all the way. And there's a man on your screen worth talking about. Fur, recent interview here at ECS, shed some light on the issues he's been facing outside of game. Jacob, did you catch him?
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, it comes down to, as it always does, players are players also outside of the game. We often only see them play on the server, and we often also only think about them when they're on the server, but there's definitely many factors outside of the game that you have to control as a professional player. That being your mental state, that being your health, and all this sort of stuff. So it's annoying and a little bit, sad to hear when there's players outside of the game having problems, but that's just part of it, and you have to tackle them and be, a real professional about it. And sometimes you just have to take your time off and readjust, health come first, and then come back even stronger.
He's been one of their top performers, though. I mean, it's good to see Fur back on, as was Fallen. I mean, I do want to address the elephant in the room while we talk about this.
All right, which one's the elephant?
The elephant was that in the group stage, everyone is adding a big asterisk to the win MIBR picked up by saying that there was big over-performances from Fur and Fallen, who have been underperforming it throughout 2018. Does that mean immediately that it kind of not written off, but it requires the same performance here.
Yeah, I don't think it's fair to put an asterisk on it and say this isn't fully legit because you had those overperformances, because those are going to happen. They happen for Astralis once in a while. Every team gets that like one crazy game where a player just goes nuts, but you do have to look at it and say if you're going to find win conditions for the next time they meet, is Fer really going to get close to dropping 80 kills across the series again? Is Fallen really going to get all those off? I think Fallen was or coldzera was up at like 76 kills for the series as well. So those mental numbers that came out, and also part of the reason why they were able to get those big numbers is because Tui and Terok were very, very quiet. If they show up in these games, obviously you're not going to get those numbers, but it'd still be way more beneficial to have one of those two guys performing as well.
Of course, absolutely. That's on their checklist, and we'll see how close they get. First, though, the head-to-head. Let's have a little look and see who has been.
Bora, vai começar, hein?
Selected.
Coldzera é maior que Device, isso é fato.
Look at those stats as well. The ADR pretty much dead even. Same with the kills per round. I mean, coldzera with the AK a little bit more aggressive, still pretty tight on pretty much all across the board. But these are the two superstars of each team. I mean, you could put Fallen up there because he's an op, but coldzera, he's just a monster, and he has been.
Definitivamente, dois monstros. Mas são mais cold, hein?
You always see them show up in big games. You always see them show up when it matters the most, and I expect no less from coldzera or Device in this matchup.
Well, it certainly matters here. Huge prize pool and pride on the line, and this is the two not only stars but consistent stars. That's a very interesting kind of asterisk to add, an important one as well. Now, before we even bring them up, we have to start that map conversation, right? Because this is going to be very interesting. Jason, do you want to set the scene, the lay of the land? Let me get up what they've played so far in those last two best of threes, but you go ahead.
Well, I mean, the bans are going to be easy, right? It's going to be Cash from Astralis, it's going to be Nuke from MIBR, which is great for MIBR. I happen to think we're going to see a curveball into somewhere. I think we're going to see some weird maps that you don't expect. If I'm Astralis, I'm looking at overpass as a very real option. This MIBR team, as much as we've talked about performing recently, they only have one map that they play. Of the 6 maps that they play, that's actually negative in win-loss. I mean, not all of them are dominant, but that's not bad to have 5 maps that you're winning more often than you're losing on.
Yeah, it looks like you get a sneak peek of what that first pick may be.
I mean, it would make sense if Astralis threw in a curveball. The only thing that suggests me that they're not going to do it is the fact that they were the guys removing overpass in the first map, so they don't seem necessarily confident playing the map. Yeah, they go with Inferno, and I think that's a safe pick for them. Inferno is one of those maps that they always perform well on, and it's also a map that we did see MIBR struggle on against North and in the other games.
Well, it's popped up in every series so far.
Here's your curveball as well, the overpass, the losing record that MIBR has, obviously putting some prep into that. And the scary thing about this as well, their Inferno at times is real ugly to watch on that T side. That offense sometimes can get very much bogged down. So these are all worrying 2 map picks. I imagine we're going to get Dust 2 as the decider.
It will make sense, for sure.
We haven't seen them play Dust 2. Train, Overpass, Inferno, Mirage are the maps they've previously played in their best of 3s.
Actually, yeah, I forgot Mirage is actually one of the best maps for MIBR as well, so I mean, that's fair play. I mean, that overpass is the real risky pick for MIBR. They put themselves in a position to get O2, but if they get to that 3rd map, they're going to be very, very happy.
I think it's cool to see, though, that they're willing to take a chance there. They're willing to risk something going into this final. I mean, what often worked for Astralis is the fact that all the teams are scared of them, and they're scared of the map pool, so they always get to play the maps that they want to play. This time around, I'm 100%
E vocês estão torcendo pra quem?
to avoid playing overpass, so MIBR may not be as
Manda aí embaixo aí nos comentários. Bora bater papo aqui. Vai começar, hein?
As a surprise.
They're trying to put a scare into them, basically.
I guess it's as close as you can get to a punishing Astralis in the map veto as you're ever going to. I don't think it's any kind of hard punish that Astralis is going to be like, oh crap, here we go. No. I think it's more from MIBR. That is a risky pick for that 2nd map.
And let's not forget that Astralis used to be by far the best team in the world on overpass, the most complete team. They had a strong T side, they had a strong CT side.
So is the core of MIBR though.
That's true, that's true. It's been a while though.
I'm looking at their recent overpass games. They've lost it 4 times recently. Na'Vi, NIP, AGO, and MIBR have all taken it to them.
They went on a streak, Astralis, of losing that overpass on land a number of times, and it's still like a winning record, but I mean, fair play, here we go.
It makes sense. Overpass was the map that avoided Astralis from winning their home event in Blast Pro Series. I believe they played it twice, as you said, and lost it.
Bora, vai começar, hein? Bora, Brasil! Hoje é o dia do Cold brilhar, hein?
So MIBR knows that, and they know there may be a little bit of a weak link here in Astralis.
And you can see the headphones are just being
Falenzeira. Olha lá, a linguinha. Essa é a linguinha da vitória.
It's grand finals. I know you don't love to do them, but it is prediction time.
I love predictions. It's
You
my
want to
favorite part of the sets.
You want to do a series prediction or you want to do a map prediction? What would you prefer?
I'm gonna let's go map by map.
Map
We'll see
by
how things
map?
play. Yeah,
Inferno, who's taking it? Who you
I think Astralis is taking Inferno.
No way.
I would like to see someone be able to take down Astralis, but their Inferno is too strong, and I think at the moment, despite the fact it being a grand finals and these
Odeio
players,
esses
they
gringos
can
que
change
torcem
things
pros
up. They can
gringos.
throw the playbook out.
Que é
they can
Brasil,
perform on
que
the
mané
stage, but
Australis
Inferno's gonna
ganhar
go Astralis.
Inferno.
I definitely agree. The last two times they've played Inferno, it's been 16-14, so both games have been close. I expect nothing else than a close game, but Astralis is just too strong for Inferno.
Too strong. The Danes are taking Inferno is what the panel is thinking.
Pode ser. Os caras tão bons no Inferno, mas é nossa. Sem chance, mano. 2-0 hoje. 2-0, hein?
To fill your ears with casting delight.
Thank you so much, Alex. Yes, we will. It's an honor to take part of the ECS finals here in the esports arena. We open this weekend with an epic final, Astralis MIBR.
It's going to be so good. This is the final we deserve, I think. The teams available here this tournament, it's fantastic. We have one from the North American division and European clashing in the final. And Veto as well. It's actually quite exciting. The fact we have Inferno, a little bit scary, but ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for, we are off. It's Astralis MIBR ECS Season 6 finals here. It's Astralis starting on the T side, and we're right into the action now. We're going to see Smokes and
Boa, Fer, boa.
Aggressive, of course, pushes towards second middle. We'll open
Cachorro
things up
louco,
against
já
Q3,
rushou, já
and that's going to slow
matou.
Astralis right down.
Bora, agora recua. Vamos marcar pouco.
Getting aggressive, not taking any time to allow them to settle into a default. They will
Mano, vamos castigar esses caras, mano. Eles estão merecendo. Caraca, Stewie. Caraca, Fale. Não, mano, não.
Not only that, it's all the way over on the B site, which forces the rotations. Despite that pick came on the A side of the map, it really doesn't amount to anything in terms of holding off the bomb plant. That said, bomb needs to get inside
Boa,
the site.
Tarik,
Hasn't
boa.
done so yet, and Tarek
Caraca, Fer.
down, does have a chance to try and push further through. He's got a teammate. I think he boosted
Bom,
up here.
vamos lá, dá pé, pega um aí.
Seconds on it. That just went down as he turned around. So this bomb's backing away from it. They don't want to risk taking the plant with that boost going up.
Eles
That
estão
smoke was
virando,
late.
eles estão virando. Não é possível,
Still yet to
gente.
go down. It's Zipex finding that completely open side. This is almost impossible now for MIBR to pull this one back. Mage is holding towards the library as well. It's just so perfect. The fact Tarek's got 19 HP, I just don't see a world where MIBR
Nada
can pull this
bom,
one off.
nada
It's
bom.
Cold Zera, who is an Inferno specialist here. He's going to have to
No,
go
no.
above and beyond for his teammates. But like I said, that position in library, he doesn't have time to check every single corner here, Matt. That's going to be the round. And Tarek might be better off just saving the diffuse, getting flashbangs here. Might be able to steal away a kill, but not quite. There it is, Astralis.
Tudo bem. Só o primeiro round.
This is their map. They're so good on it, and they have a great pistol after losing the first pick as well. It's all about Glaive, who just keeps on
Olha essa
performing on
kill, mano.
Inferno.
Não é
It's amazing to
possível.
watch at times.
Ô, Fer.
So Astralis takes an early lead, and it'll be a force buy from MIBR. We have seen good success on it throughout the weekend.
Bora, Code.
3 smokes. So some good utility. They want banana control. Keep that in mind when we swap over to T-side. We talked about this yesterday with Astralis. They're so good at taking banana, so good with utility that you almost have to take it late or not at all.
Remember, this is MIBR force buying in the second round. Not a lot of teams do this, but they have pretty much every round of this tournament. So we'll be interested to see if they can win it. They actually have had great success. They've got so much talent available to them. Very smart players as well. But if they check the boost, this round should be over. It's Stewie that goes down. He is known to
Tem que
anchor
tomar
that big
cuidado,
bomb
porque
site
vai
solo.
essas
Most of
posições
the
assim
time,
não
if you
vai
find a kill
rolar,
on
mano.
him, you can almost guarantee the site's going to be open for yourselves. And that's going to be bomb going down, and they might just consider saving the CZs and Desert Eagles here, so they have a chance of actually fighting back in the next round. And that's exactly what's going to happen here. Nice round from Astralis. Didn't give too much away there, just a single kill, bombs down, and they could maybe explore the idea of going for a bit of a hunt here with the UMPs. Obviously, there's money to be farmed there, but so far, so good. But still a dangerous round next if all 3 players survive on the CT forces.
Bom, tirar umas arminhas, né? Tudo bem, os 3 primeiros rounds tá de boa. Primeiro visto, não fizeram eco, forçaram de novo.
It was the closest you could get, and then they go on to say, well, overpass, they're still the best team in the world. It's like, is there any veto that's going to give you a chance?
The good thing that MIBR had coming into this, they go to veto is nuke.
Boa,
So they had that working in their favor at
okay,
least. As we will see, Fur take another kill away. That's going to be a UMP picked up at least. As we get into round number 3, still have to be very cautious one. Usually you'd have just USPs, no armor, you just run around the map, farm some cash, but they need to be careful here. Players like Cold Zera, he actually has one of the scariest eagles in CSGO right now. He can
Podia começar sem emoção, né?
Fur does get a UMP out, which is formidable. Certainly, if he can play position and get flashed in, they've got 2 to work with off of Cold. For
Sem
himself has 1.
emoção, sem emoção.
And expectedly, he's over toward the B side of the map. But again, they won't go aggressive on Banana. I expected almost he would play half wall, perhaps try and get flashed in that position. Instead, he's going to be more passive. So they want to have the crossfires for when they actually arrive on the site.
Here we go then. They've got that B control, but you can see the bomb's still down at T steps. There won't be a full commitment, at least for 30 seconds or so. Device, oh my goodness, he's going to struggle here. He's definitely going down. How is he still alive? Finally, they get him. It's going to be Fallen to pick up the kill. They get an AK-47, but is it going to be enough to pull this one back? Advantage for now, but as you can see, Astralis getting themselves ready to pop towards the arch side. They're waiting for that smoke to go down. Good Molotov to force coldzera out of position, but that Desert Eagle, watch out for it. We know he's good with it. All of a sudden, the kills are coming in favor of MIBR. It's going to be a 4 versus 2 with Dupree and Glaive stuck against it. I'm not sure they can pull this one back. There is a minute remaining, and they might have made a great call here to go towards that B side.
They might have stuck through them. They were aware of this. They now realize it, have to work back out, but Glaive's going to have position on this. They still don't know it. They rotated out of A. They're going to go together. They have to at this point in time. So much ground is lost. Bomb plant's important as well because Astralis, again, if you win the first 2 but lose the new, I guess, gun round 4 previously. Still need a better way to say that. But the point is, by getting this bomb plant down, that's going to ensure they still have a perfect buy in the next round, despite losing this, and despite the investment early on. Glaive holding, good find on Stewie. We may not have to worry about the bomb plant. We might have to worry about the entire round. Now Dupree, only with HP is going to get caught. That Molotov was a little late. They were too close. They were able to swing, peek together. Glaive almost gets them both, but Fallen trades it back. And it did start with the flash on B, but it wasn't the SMG. Fur was playing passive in that position.
Well, they win the round. That's massive. And I did say coming to this one, you have to be so careful. If they saved Eagle Armor, it can be chaotic. And unfortunately, it was Device that this is the moment where it all starts to fall apart. You have a player like that with a rifle in a position as common and prevalent as the Banana area. If he goes down with nothing, gives a rifle away to MIBR, that could be enough, and it certainly was. Glaive fall back the best he could, but overwhelmed in the 2 versus 1 in the end. Couldn't find the double spray down, and we are off. We've got a double orb set up here. Fallen and coldzera. Classic MIBR double orb. We've seen Tarek joining him with the responsibility, seen they've gone back to what they know works. And we'll see now if Astralis with their Mac 10 can answer back here. They did have enough money for a pretty decent buy. 4 AKs, a lack of all the utility device with nothing here as we enter the 1 minute 30 mark and forward. So good at this side of the map. Close range. He knows when to go for the wall bangs, and he's going to fall back to the defensive line. But he's got so many tricks up his sleeve.
He thought about that. He saw that Molotov be thrown and thought maybe there's someone on the wall, but elected not to shoot it and not give away the fact that it's on the site. As of yet, still playing towards CT. That's easily smoked off, and I presume will be. But he can stick around with the angle already lined up and fire into it.
Vai rolar incendiária ali na tripla.
We'll do exactly that. There he goes, flash as well. No smoke as of yet. They want to put it late, and he's still blind, still in the open. Device absolutely destroys Stewie on entry. And Fallen was nearly caught off as well. He's fortunate to get away from this, and I think getaway is the key word.
That's it, that 1 kill, and that's a very methodical process from Astralis. You see the smokes deployed, the flashes over. It was very awkward for the timings there. Fallen normally good for 1 kill, couldn't find anything there. You can see overwhelmed, flashed off, and his teammate absolutely battered by Device there. Great opening kill, and it's enough to guarantee victory here. Astralis know though 4 players staying alive. They could go for a hunt. Their money's not exactly great. They might just want to keep all 5 players alive. And MIBR on a double orb setup as well. That's the main problem with this setup. It can be fantastic, but if you have to go for a retake, especially in that B bomb site, 2 orbs is just not going to be sufficient. And Fallen decides to fall back, and we'll see Mages with the Mac 10. He can definitely justify going for a bit of a hunt here. Doesn't necessarily want that weapon in the next round. As Tarek will find him, like you said, not a huge deal. Definitely affects the money for them a little bit there, but 4 players do survive on the Brazilian side there. 3-1 Astralis, and another gun round to take place here. It's going to be round 5, and Fallen and coldzera still on those orbs. Do they want to try and get super aggressive here, try and face towards T-steps, knowing that Device doesn't really bring out the orb on the T-side unless he picks one up for free? Cold back out toward middle, won't be aggressive this time. Smokes it off and actually falls away instead, so that second off will play passive. That's mostly in response to the fact that 3 players on Banana want to try and control this. They know that Astralis love this portion of the map. So playing aggressive as a result. Nice shot.
Fallen, nice shot. Moleque. Bora, Falenzão, sobe ali.
Fallen, still one of the only. That Molotov nearly causing problems as they failed to get up there 3 times now. Owen does in the
Boa,
end.
Falenzão.
Device goes down. He's one of the only oppers that still likes to play that position CT side.
He loves it. I really enjoy watching him towards B, and he ain't done just yet. He's still hunting big kills. The pre-fire through the smoke. It's going to be Major stuck in towards those logs. Decent grenade. Still a recoverable situation for Astralis. It's
a nossa, só segurar. Tem segredo.
Sometimes can be problematic, but the bomb does get planted.
Não apavorar. Segurar o bomb.
It could be enough.
Alguém segura e amarra o Fer aí, mano. Não deixa ele rushar, não.
Crossfires on the bomb site here. Cold Zero focusing towards quad, gets that one kill, falls back, repositions, but they're focusing on Arch, and you can see it's Tarek who's watching that with the M4, but no presence towards the actual CT spawn side or library. They could sneak through. CT will have a setup for that. I think it'll be Stewie who will be looking towards the CT spawn position as Dupree tries to show presence towards the A side.
Que jogo é esse, brother? Beleza.
Play from Dupree. Presence is found. Certainly felt by Tarek. Gun barrel showing. Cold didn't respond to it. Wanted to make sure that no one was getting out of Palace in the meantime.
Não.
Just destroyed, but just was able to swing in from library, and they weren't quite aware of that angle yet because they didn't think they were that far. As Cold only gets one second later, he might have had both on a lineup, but just gets the trade.
Que marcação ridícula é essa, mano?
That comes after potentially in a 2-1-2.
Não é possível que eles estão fazendo isso. É muito prata. Pô, pega a posição lá do MIBR, mano. Não viaja, não viaja. Não tem que inventar.
He has no kits here, and the AWP. He might be able to get one kill here, but surely he'll be traded out. Oh, he sees the head of Mages. That's a kill. He could go for the quick.
Boa! Caraca, paizão. Bode. Mano, você precisa falar pro seu time não fazer mais isso. Uou. Monstro.
What a pace on that. Slowed the shot down, knew that Magisk was there, and lined it up. He could have walled that. He was only on about 5 HP, but he still hits that shot. And brilliant prediction to find Dupree in the corner as well. Look at that.
Nossa, olha isso, cara.
Oh, there it is. Bad fall
que tiro.
As well.
Boa.
He's got this kit beside the bomb. It was perfectly set up for him. So 3-2, MIBR pull the round back, and it's going to leave Device on just a deagle. 4 AKs only for Astralis. Once again, Banana, the point of contention early on. 3 Molotovs thrown out. 1 high from the Astralis side, and then 2 to cut off the entire lane from MIBR. This is going to be a battle, I think, for at least...
Entramos no jogo. Não, nunca saímos do jogo, mas... Mano, deram uma vacilada ali. Que marcação é aquela? Os 3 no bombe, cara. Ninguém olhando nada. Isso não pode, não.
Just warming up. This is the grand final we wanted. Fallen looking excellent. Astralis still, though, challenging him towards this B side of the map. He goes to the repeat. Absolutely fearless here as he continues to look for a boost. Anyone trying to knock him back. They got a Molotov with the corner before they come in here. But this is what he's waiting for. He gets another kill. Just one step ahead every single time.
Great shot by Glaive, though, because Stewie was baited in off of that. Fallen takes 2, and they could almost slide out, but down immediately. Late on the boost, but again, 2 players new box. This isn't common. Not going to go for it. First thinking about it, but he's got to be careful with that rifle.
Cuidado, cuidado, do outro lado, do outro lado.
Taken up by Glaive. Around the corner he goes.
Não,
they both burn. That actually was the nade came in afterwards and did the damage. The final tick from fire kills them both, and that allows the site and the plant.
They were going for the bait and switch. We normally see
Bora,
that towards
coach,
email
traz
the
pra
bombs down.
gente.
You have one player there with the AWP suggesting he's using new boxes. You kill him, you think that position's clear,
Bora,
then he can
coach,
pop
bora,
out. But if you
coach.
Molotov like that, I think they stack the mollies as well with nades, and there's no way MIBR can pull this one back. They are fully invested into this. Remember, Fallen, sure, he won the previous round,
Beleza,
but only
guardar.
one player
Tá bom.
survives. Their
Mas,
money is
mano,
done for, and out of nowhere,
que jogadas são essas, cara? Não é possível que eles estão fazendo essas jogadas. Jogo simples, mano. Simples é bom.
As soon as the second one came in, get the bomb down, round over, so they pull it back 4-2. No heroics from Fallen this time. 2 M4s carried over. 2450 and 1700, the amount of money that Cold and Tarek have, so just shy of bringing out a full rifle, but Cold's already brought over the UMP. So they will distribute the wealth. Fallen's going to be the one to have the SMG. They're probably hoping that he can build back up some cash to get an AWP out again soon.
Torraram eles.
Burn, baby, burn. We'll see round number 7 take place. It's a very difficult situation. Fur's got USP. Now a CZ, if I had to say, that doesn't look right. And he'll get a
intenção ali era boa, mas
this is everything
mano,
from
que
MIBR. They
azar.
love a force bind for good reason. So much talent available. The aim is available in buckets and spades. We'll see whether they can do anything about this. But Astralis, they gave up around already the pistols. They don't want to do that again. Sure, there's a couple of rifles there, but they do have a massive upper hand here. Device now with the AWP. just starting to get warmed up as they go for the B control once again. That seems what they're focusing most of their efforts. Like I said, Stewie known to play this bomb site alone most of the time. That was happening until his teammate rotates in. That's Fallen. Fallen with the SMG. Stewie with CZ up against 5 Astralis players, hungry for another trophy. As all 5 wait on the other side. The flash is good. Device gives up the fact he's got the AWP in that position. No kill found, and that'll call for a rotation here from Fur. They've actually got manpower on this side.
Que isso? Não, vamos deixar eles entrar não.
Ó,
aqui vão fazer a incendiária lá na tripla. Smoke, bang. Boa, boa. Quase Skykill ali na frente. Mas tá bom, tá bom. Olha essa execução.
Molotov's going to spill to 1 and 2. Fallen steps up. That's 1 kill only on the USP. Stewie's got an AK in front of him, but he can't get that far. He's found by Magiska. And Zipex Magiska's looked amazing on entries this tournament, by the way. I think this is one of his better in terms of finding the opening pet frags.
Absolutely agree. 4 players survive and blocks things once again as MIBR, another agonizing save for them. It's becoming a bit of a trend here in Inferno. Had a couple of scrappy victories, but once again saving the M4s. And with the loss bonus only going to be the second stage after this one, that's $1,900. And that actually is such a problematic situation. You've got 2 M4s here and a CZ of armor. Are you just force buying again?
Isso é problema. Guarda isso aí, salva essa arma, coach.
But still you have the disadvantage and you throw the money away.
It's a super tough call because if you can get out the SMGs and build up a little bit, you're going to have a 3rd round bonus potentially afterward, and you want to try and keep Astralis' money honest. But at the same time, you're not going to have a perfect buy if you don't just bite the bullet and save.
Absolutely. I don't know what the best call is here. Those guys will have a much better idea than I will. We'll see whether they're going to invest or just maybe get Deagle armor on the 2 other players, try and drop whatever pistols they can, and see if that's the right call. I think a tactical timeout is definitely required here. It's not that they're going to call for it.
Well, they had lots of time while they were saving potentially to talk about what they wanted to do with it, so they are going to bite the bullet.
So just 2 full EK players, not even P250s there, surprised at the fact they're going to get 2,400 next round. Did he kill the chicken?
I think he probably wanted to chase him away from mid, to be honest, to not reveal anything if
well, no animals are harmed
else.
at least.
Yeah, no animals were harmed. Device the first kill. Zipex has got a lot of pressure being applied, manages to withstand the first of it, but not the second, as Tarek will get the shot back.
Eu sou Tarek da nova geração. Boa,
from what we
boa.
know, there's no one that was able to babysit that, so they could push up.
Já deixou limpar de novo. Boa,
things
Tarek.
going on that require attention first, and Tarek actually gets another. So now it's 3 on 3. That gun is definitely still there. Zipex is aware of it. Or excuse me, Tarek's aware of it. He's going to rotate around.
Device. This
Get the AK.
cost him his life.
Yeah, so 2 AKs picked up. Excuse me, that was Stewie. I thought it was Tarek. It was Stewie. So now they've got 2 AKs upgraded from M4. Fur's not going to be able to get one. He's locked inside the woods.
Well, every second he waits on his sandbags, he's going to guarantee the bomb. But he's got the kill on Device here. He's as well. I think he probably should, considering their money situation. Oh, he lets his teammate die, unfortunately, for it. We do get the knife, the crowd pleaser. They might be able to go for this. So his teammate's at T-steps, to be fair, so he won't save the AK for. He gets the knife, cost him his teammate, but still, they're going to have 2 rifles. That's what they started this round with, so it's actually better because
Fê.
Exactly. Now,
Boa. Ganhando dinheiro, $1.000.
The knife gets him the extra money. That's what you're thinking. However, it's actually more costly because if you hadn't just killed him with the CZ, they have 3 AKs, which is more than the $1,500 you just made.
Cola da $1.000, cara.
So I know he was thinking
Paga
money.
bem pra caramba, valeu. Dinheirinho extra aí, estão precisando.
Unfortunately, not seeing that kill coming in. So either way, again, we talked about this. They saved it out. Cold's going to be the one of the AWP this time.
Yeah, this is when he takes matters into his own hands. Maybe he's got that good spawn. Can we check out Coldzera? Yeah, he wants to go towards middle here and see whether he can maybe open things up. Doesn't commit to the peak, so maybe he just feels like he's going to be more effective with the AWP towards middle than Fallen could be at B, because that's where they're really struggling right now. We're trying to change things up with a double rifle setup instead of Fallen on the AWP as they leave again. Stewie alone. He's got the AK this time though. That's where he can do his best work. He can go and challenge for the jewels. He's hungry. He's aggressive. He wants to challenge them one-on-one. So the AK can actually have freedom to do that now.
Mano, tem ninguém olhando o nível.
Cold's in the corner.
Cold tá lá.
AWP, they don't check it. Turn around. Oh,
boa, Cold.
That no scope nearly gets to 3rd because Glave's distracted and he wants to get back out.
Valeu, valeu, Cold.
That was impressive and almost depressing because they walked right by the AWP.
Yeah, that's a very overlooked spot. I don't know what it is about that position, but it always seems to happen. We will see 2 kills in the AWP. Coldzera seemed to position himself perfectly as Tarek will try and fall back, dropping another incendiary there just to buy himself some time to get in a more defensive position, as now they'll go back towards B. Like we said, that's where they found most of their success here. They've only got 2 smokes, but that's fine. You can smoke towards Coffins and CT spawn.
Agora segura isso aí, mano. Segura esse bomb. Segura esse bomb, mano. Tem um miadaço. De vida o Glaive. Pô, já era. 6 de vida, 1 de vida. Boa, Stewie. 1 de HP, não é possível. Uma balinha, um peido, uma flash nele. Boa.
Yeah, that's what they need. They need a nice clean round. No bomb was planted in the Astralis side, and now they're starting to whittle away at that money. They're going to build their own. They've got 3 AKs on the CT side. Yes, a grim start, but they can absolutely bring this one back. It's 6-3. Like I said, I don't know what it is, Matt. We've casted so many games where this position's overlooked, and I don't know what it is about it, but it's a weird one. And Stewie, as mentioned, you're going to expect him to get at least a frag or 2 there. As we've got a little technical pause here, a chance to catch our breath and just work out what we've seen so far. It's been very exciting, some exhilarating rounds. That one from Fallen especially was
beleza.
Pausinha técnica. Even with an epic clutch like that, you'd expect them to have more than 3 rounds on the board right now, but still quite early days. Astralis with enough full buy, maybe one compromise in the form of Zipex. He's got $3,000. There's Yanko waiting to see if they can topple Astralis on Inferno. Not many teams can that.
Not many teams can at all. And remember that MIBR, despite that they have 3 rounds already, they struggle a lot with that banana position. We've seen it ever since, go back to the Star Series with G2 and the Nightmare with Phelps and Fur. It's something that they just don't ever get right. They're either too passive or too aggressive. So far this game I've been impressed with it. They're using utility to hold Astralis at bay, and Fallen has looked excellent on the off in that position.
Se ganhar todas a partir de agora tá bom, hein?
You're right, the results to finally someone taking down Astralis on Inferno. That's in a major, close enough. In a final of the ECS season, I mean, that's impressive in itself. They've had relative ease with finals so far, Astralis this year.
Glaive seeing the flames encroach on his position, but he's absolutely fine. Gets to save his smoke. That might seem like a small detail, but in post-plant situations, smoke's the king. So the fact he can keep it there and avoid the damage is fantastic for him. So, nice default here. Haven't taken any damage.
Segura isso aí, segura isso aí, segura isso aí, vamos lá.
And it won't be him on the AWP again. It seems that they want coldzera to be AWPing towards middle. It worked before, got them that successful round, so why not? Tarek setting up the smoke for his teammates there, just to back them up. That's going to mean they have Fallen and Stewie there. Stewie still has his smoke as well for a minute on the clock, so does Fallen and an incendiary. They are very well equipped. That's fantastic from Tarek, just very selflessly coming over, dropping a smoke behind them sometimes. That's going to actually boost the B-bomb site dramatically.
Glaive with a flash over, Device the one up close, smoked off however by the CTs. This buys some space.
Não é bom isso aí não.
Yeah, Device could actually creep through and go for a kill if he wanted to. But he is alone. He's just firing off shots there. You can see no targets in sight.
30 segundos, só segurar.
While his teammates go towards middle. Oh my goodness. Lucky to be alive there. Fur wasn't expecting a free kill like that.
No, nade out, walking into the cubby.
Eles vão virar, eles vão virar, eles vão virar.
Nossa. The presence from Device will now be aided. He'll have some momentum behind it as Stewie sits on top of the coffins. Watch for Fallen flashing him in, trying to get the shot out. Smoke still down.
Fallen, ficou. Nossa, boa, Falenzão.
Magisk still finds the shot in return. Fallen, he's got to swing this perfectly. Baits out some shots, tries to get a pre-fire from Zipex. Does that gives him a
Fallen.
Now he's got Magisk as well. Brilliance from Fallen to figure out exactly where they were. Bomb still gets planted, but it's Dupree that has to go against 4. And he's already looking behind him to at least secure his position so he has any chance at it. But they've cleared the site in the meantime. They know he's there. They've got him on an off angle, meaning they can hold this defuse. And he only gets one.
Que isso, Fallen.
Finds his 5th, an ace in the round.
It's all about
Ace round, muito bom, mano, Falenzão. Vixe, bicho tá bad. Olha isso. 1, 2, 3, 4. Só esperou um pouquinho. 5. Ace do Brasil. Do verdadeiro. Que isso, jogou muito, jogou muito.
And we get into round number 11 here. There's going to be a partial by the CZs and the Deagles. Looking for kills here, and so is Tarek here. Wild spray, and he'll take down Device. So that's exactly what they wanted, but Fur doesn't seem to be falling back just yet.
He's gone.
Valeu, valeu.
Forma just returned it. And And this forces Cold to rotate quickly because, oh, that's
Boa,
brilliant, because they had to
Cold.
get back to the site. They had no one over toward the apartments as soon as Fur went down. They lost that whole side of the map, so he gets there in time to find a kill coming out from...
Bora, segura isso aí.
Doorway as Magistus wants to smoke, flash, drop in, has AK in position, knows where Tarek is on the site. Fallen.
Boa.
Reverse side of the box, still front library, gets the shot back. Cold went down to his right. That, I think, gave Magistus the
Bom,
thought
só
that he could
resta
use that to his
castigar.
advantage, but
Esse cara viver não.
certainly
Não merece
revenues us
viver.
now with Dupree, and around looks to bring us to 6-5.
Boa,
MIBR starting to really bring us close, and you said it.
Boa, Tariq.
They're looking like they could
Que
potentially
isso, time.
give Astralis a scare on this map. Remember, it's overpass second, and if needed, and it might be Mirage.
Absolutely. I'm really excited for the map ball, actually. And MIBR looking sharp now. Like you said, a rough start, but now 3 rounds in a row. They're closing the gap. Inferno isn't as one-sided as it used to be. CT side, sure, you can maybe game for 8, 9 rounds. That's absolutely fine. They're definitely still on for that. As we'll see a tactical
Valenzão,
timeout.
14
So
kills,
it'll be
mano.
Astralis to call it. We're going to see them considering their options. Zonic definitely wanted to get involved and give his thoughts on what he's seen so far. They are going to be buying up into this. As you can see, the AK is being purchased. He's got about 5k on Dupree. I don't think we'll see the AWP. Not really worth it on Inferno, especially when he can't really afford it. MIBR, though, kind of gone away from that double AWP setup. And ever since they have, you can see they've had a lot more success. I think you want to focus players like coldzera. He has picked up the AWP, but we want on the rifle as well. The double AWP setup, and it's not working. That's an execution-based team like Astralis, who are shutting you out and finding these great entries. You need the rifles there to be a little bit more dynamic, I think.
He doesn't really land. 12 damage over 2 players fallen. Stay with that AWP. This time, for the first time, they're actually going to leave him as a solo anchor. So that suggests to me that they're pleased with the way things are going on Banana, that they finally have the confidence that they've contained Astralis. And by leaving him there on that op, they can now strengthen up A. I knew it was going to take a few rounds to jostle for this position, but MIBR seemingly have done enough. Fallen checks. I don't think he spotted Device getting there. Now he does. No, he didn't. He didn't see it at all. He was off by at least a pixel. It's got to be that close. It was so narrow, the margin, but that's going to give him an AWP and a chance to try and work out exactly where they are at B, and they're not. Remember that. They have to rotate back, so it's only towards CT connector for Stewie.
There we go, a smoke down to try and get back on the bomb side there. It is going to be Stewie making his way back. Fallen was holding B by himself. That is a very common setup with the AWP. Get it towards the barrels, allowing you to have 4 players towards the A side of the map, and it falls apart if you lose that sniper. Luckily, there was only Device there, so they couldn't just collapse into the site and take over. So Stewie had time to rotate in, but again, he is there solo. This is a much different situation we had previously. There's no smokes available from MIBR now. A few flashes, an incendiary, and a 5-on-4 in favor of the Danes. They will finish towards A here, but will they go for the execution or more of a contact approach here through the apartments? There's the flash. Very basic, and see if they can find the opening kills.
Zipix does. Cold corner. They don't check it. Oh, he nearly missed out on that. Cost him a lot more ammo than potentially it should have. Still with 16, he fired out but couldn't find Fur. Excuse me, Dupree, as Fur gets the trades. Planted nonetheless, and Zipix holds up inside of the pit. That's going to be position that Stewie has to try to overwhelm. He's only got 2550 at this. They've got to buy in hand, but only if he saves this gun, because 200 for Tarek, 1750 for Fur.
Valeu. Melhor guardar.
He's just looking for an on probing now and seeing if there's an exit frag potential.
Não, melhor tentar tirar as armas
Every
aí.
kill he does get at this point will actually be incredibly valuable. Looks like he fancies his chances, not of the round, but of finding a few kills. Gives his position up, and that might cost him now. How does he get out of this spot? I'm not really sure. It's going to be Glaive to take him down. He doesn't get anyone with a bomb blast either. So expensive situation, still a buy nonetheless. I think they can get the AWP out for sure. Falling with $8,000 here. So I assume this is a timeout at this point. It looks technical to me. Yes.
Yeah, it is indeed. That's 7-5.
You see on the scoreboard there a couple of players missing off the server. So I assume we've had a bit of a dropout. Just restarting Steam, Matthew. So nothing's going to be alarmed.
They ran out of steam, Henry.
Indeed. But it will be another round on the board for Astralis there, courtesy of an opening pick from Device. There was nothing tactically brilliant about that. He was just in position. Fallen wasn't quite watching the angle.
Yeah, he was shoulder picking it.
Equilibrado o jogo, tá bom.
So just a small Device to kill, and then, like we said, a simple approach towards the A site. 3 players in the apartments, 1 flashbang. I think they had a smoke towards library as well, and they get out, find the opening kill. That was Zipix and coldzera again. Astralis seem to be overlooking a lot of common positions there. We saw Cold Zero right in the corner. A lot of CTs play there. Astralis didn't even check in all the chaos, and that could have cost them the round, but they are very good at landing on their feet in these sort of situations. They managed to put it off in the end, and it will be 7-5 on the T side of Inferno. Looking great for them so far. Definitely the favorites here. MIBR had a very turbulent season as they try and define this roster, work out what the roles are within the team, what are the maps that are good. And it seems to be such a question mark around so many areas of their play. But now getting deep in tournaments regularly, it seems, and this is a grand final against the world's best. A fantastic opportunity to showcase the development of the squad.
Money as it is, that's the bigger call for MIBR. Having not saved over the M4. Deep in the half as we are about to start.
Bora. Pausinha técnica de boa.
13. Dupree we're waiting on. Unfortunately, his gun's still on the ground in spawn. They'll be able to resume without doing too much medicing once we get in. Yanko has to stay silent this whole time. That must be hard on him.
Yes, absolutely. I think you might be right there. But yes, we are hopefully getting everything back underway. We've got 9 players on now. Dupree, his numbers currently set up 4-9. Definitely hasn't had the best tournament run here by his standards by any means. I would say he would admit that as well, but his teammates have gone above and beyond the moments than they are required to. You mentioned Mages, he's looked fantastic. Zipex great as usual. Device always going to be up there. So consistent, really, really well done. Yanko's called for a timeout there, so he wants to talk. He wants to get stuck in here.
Fair play. That actually makes sense given the circumstances, knowing what we knew about the money. So yeah, he's telling Fallen, please actually call a timeout now, because during the technical they can't even do that. So this will turn from a technical to a tactical. That'll give us 30 seconds more in which they can talk. And then freeze time will commence.
Yes, you are right there. Yanko obviously wants to give his 2 cents on the current financial situation. So just to kind of context, they can buy 2 orbs that they really wanted to, but remember I did mention that doesn't really seem to be working out too well for them. But in this sort of scenario when you can maybe only get SMGs to go along with the orbs, maybe that could be the right call. Get a bit more aggressive, try and go for this first picks. Fallen does look sharp today, but we're getting to the latter stages now, round 13. It's still only 5. I'd say they do need to win the half to stand a chance here. It's that T side is where we've commented in the past and said it's only Cold Zero. If he steps up and gets like 20 kills in the half, that's when they actually look very good. It's very important he has good performances in Inferno. Otherwise, they look like it's not actually an amazing map for them. But obviously, the veto process, they had to get rid of Nuke. And playing Inferno against Astralis isn't the most exciting prospect for them. But we'll see if they can stick the landing here in the first half at least. As everyone's back on the server, can confirm that. I assume with restarting Steam, we'd have to get the phones out and everything like that, so it might take a little bit longer. And we've got 10 seconds, Matthew. The only last word you'd like to say before we get back into the action?
Nope.
Nope, that's it.
Let's get it going.
Well, Yanko does get
some fun on the stage today.
You did. Looked like a lot of fun. We had some fun on the desk as well.
It's the loudest casting I've ever heard you doing.
My voice hurts so much. I'm not going to be able to talk tomorrow. But that was fun.
It's fine. We only have another event that we have to fly to literally tomorrow, Hank.
Yep.
You'll have lots of time to recover.
We've got to have the AWP. Like I said, it is a difficult buy, and they do go for the double orbs. It makes sense. You've got 3 lesser weapons. In this sort of setup, I don't mind the double orb. We'll see whether it works out for them. I do want to see a bit more aggression, perhaps, so, and try and get Fallen in an advantageous position where he can go for those initial kills. Device will have to extinguish that. Incendiary at the start of the round barely takes any damage from it, though. It's not a huge deal. But 3 towards the B side of the CTs, and they're being proactive as well. They want to use this close range weaponry, and it will be Fallen take down Device. I think through the smoke, blinking, miss it. Dupree on the other side of the map, looking for the second. Cold Zera hits the shot, and there's Yorp looking towards the apartments now.
He's well aware of the fact that there's a second player inside the apartment, so he changes his angle accordingly with that smoke. He's also aware that Zipex smoked strictly
Boa, Cold. Que isso, cara.
As he goes back for a triple, gets
Quase.
by
Tá
Glaive.
bom,
Nearly
tá bom.
a chance to get all of them.
3x1 junta, cara. Não vai separado.
Glaive now, named Demoto, goes Dinks in there, but dinked up in return.
Barely.
6 damage from that Dinks. Astonishing. Smokes himself off. One is approaching quad, but he knows that's his invitation to try and get a bomb down there. Going to approach.
Boa, galera. Boa. Que isso, Cold. Jogou fino agora.
There's orbs coming out and doing a good job. You can see they're trying to funnel them towards Cold Zera. The fact he's waiting in such a great position as well. He hit some fantastic shots. Look at him go. Zipex found the opener, but it wasn't quite enough.
Que isso, jogou muito.
Push towards the B side of the map. 3 players there, SMGs, make them uncomfortable. And Fallen, I believe, got a kill through the smoke to get Device. That's a great way to open things up, of course. And that's going to put MIBR right back in the race, because that shut down the money of Astralis. A tactical timeout from them. We're going to see a lot of those throughout this series. Remember, this is the grand final. I'm going to make sure the coaches are involved in dissecting everything and helping the team out. With $3,000 available and first stage loss bonus, I don't think they'll buy, because with the 2K coming in next round, they'll be able to get AKs out and armor. So I think they'll just take maybe very modest investment of P250s perhaps.
Boa, valeu.
They approach it. Good win from MIBR after, again, forcing out the double op setup, making it work, and now escaping the fate of economic crisis, a recession, if you will.
This is such a gamble play from Astralis. If they win it, they
agora também de armamento, cara. Se não vacilar, é 7-7. E aí quebrou os caras, dá pra virar.
I understand the mentality behind it, but it is a risk, certainly. Single AK only for Dupree. They're going to have to be explosive when they go to a site.
It's against those double orbs. Maybe that's why they've done it, because they know they can go for an execution here and make those a little bit less useful. As Cold Zero, you feel like he's getting good shots here.
Boa, Cold.
That's a smart way to deal with the double op. If they're going to try and go execution-based, go aggressive, get into a different position.
Yeah.
Catches them out immediately. They can't even get to a point where they're setting up for a take and down a man already. Thankfully, the AK does transfer over. Zipix is able to pick it up.
Beleza.
Now rotate back down toward Banana. They haven't put any pressure on that side of the map as of yet. They have no information whatsoever as to what's going on toward the barrels, toward the bags, if there's anyone playing aggressively. And without that information, they also can't really tell if they've gone for an early rotation, which, as we can tell on the mini-map, you can conclude for yourself. 8 seconds on it. Incendiary covers off boiler door. That allows a bit more aggression in the position of Fur.
Cuidado, cuidado,
When they walk out from
cuidado.
the mid wall, he's also got a chance to take away the aggro, and Stewie could slide back and
Tão bem
split back to the corner.
posicionado.
Now he wants to just get to the cubby early as Tarek.
Tarek já escutou ali, ó. Ô, Tarek.
The angle Cold's missed as well. This gives the AK a chance. Zipix finds one device, overwhelms Fur, and now they flood onto the site. Exactly what they needed to do with lesser weapons, and suddenly it's level. A 2-on-2, but you're right, no bomb. 7 seconds, it can't even get there.
6, 5,
Can it? It's gonna have to be
4.
perfect. It's gonna have to
Já
be
era.
perfect.
Perderam,
It
perderam.
might be, but not with the AK in position. Time is gone.
Boa.
It was
Não.
about a tick too late. And 7-7
Boa,
MIBR.
deu bem.
Great effort there from Astralis, but ultimately did not win the round. They
Mais
got that
um.
bomb down as a serious chance of winning out in the 1 versus 1, but great frags did not equal victory. And will be now the final round of the half. Got
Mano,
one
que
AK-47
sorte
from
agora.
Zipix. He's still got $1,000 there. Did you not want to drop? Okay, he's got a few more residual grenades to buy, so that's fine. And we'll see whether this will be enough to win the final round. It's going to be a Zipix AK, 4 CZs.
É 8-7, os caras sem chance, hein? Já tomou na jaca pra ficar esperto.
Again, I think that's a straight up wallbang takedown device. The headshot. It's only one of the pistol players, not the worst frag to lose, but still, Fallen has got 16 frags in this half. That's pretty
16
remarkable.
frags. Falenzão tá jogando pra caramba, mano.
Reasonable support on both sides, it sounds like.
Boa, Fallen. Jogou que ninguém do time jogou,
CT
hein?
side is significant because we've talked about the problems that they have defensively. More so, Astralis hasn't had the most convincing CT sides, in all fairness. This first map could actually go the way of the Brazilian core.
Oh, yes.
With the only 2 Americans in the final. The 2 Americans that actually made it through to the playoffs, to be precise.
Essa jogadinha desses caras. Aí,
They'll give it everything they've got here. Molotov smokes up against Fallen and Stewie as usual. They seem to be aware though. Fur rotating in with the decoy in hand. Here comes the Molotovs. The execution is looking pretty decent so far as they boost players up. Fallen out of position.
Boa, Fallen.
Blind as well as he fades away. He shuts the round down. It's going to be 1 frag in return from Zipix here, but surely they're not going to get away with this one. It would take something absolutely disastrous to happen at this point. The bomb is going to be planted in Dupree. Oh,
Não,
through the smoke
que
finds
foi
another. All of a
isso,
sudden
cara?
it's a 2-on-2 and they've got a real chance here.
O Dupree tá miado,
7
vamos.
HP, Dupree
Joga
hits that shot,
junto.
bomb planted. Cold's got to get
Cold
back
tá
in.
bem
That's given them everything they
posicionado.
need.
Volta no Cold, volta na câmera do Cold.
Fallen may have had one down inside of the site. It may just be around the corner where in which Zipix is playing from, but Dupree, AWP with that low H.
Não.
Pick it all. He finds Cold as well. That's
Que
pretty smart
kill
because
foi
he can hold
aquele
that
na
weapon, he can hold the
smoke?
angle. 4 kills
Atrasou
for
o
him, and it goes
game.
8-7. Astralis pull it back.
that's so sick from Dupree. I don't know how they managed to do it.
Podia ter começado pontinho na frente, ganhava o pistol, ficava mais tranquilo. Mas ô mania de jogar recuado,
Oh
mano.
my goodness, absolutely rails Stewie through the smoke, then hits every single shot. Looking better and better with this weapon every time I see him pick it up. And we'll get into the second half as ASTRALIS steal away that last round. Amazing scenes here. We've played
Vamos ajudar o Fallen aí, mano. Só o Fallen tá jogando hoje nessa bagaça.
And looking at the CT setup now for ASTRALIS, we'll be right back into the action. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. This one's just warming up. Your grand final continues here as ASTRALIS on the CT side. They've got one smoke, no kits, and a CZ for Glaive. And it looks like a fast B rush here. The two HEs give it away. They needed the start to push back any CT aggression, and they won the fight here. Zipex knows it. He knows what those nades mean. And they'll be smoking in very quickly here and presumably committing, but no. They use the HEs to get the presence, and I'm not sure what's going to happen here. I thought that would be the full commitment. You're going to expend almost all the utility you brought up. Smokes, HEs, flashes, and then you don't commit. They'll get a full back towards A here. They have one smoke remaining.
Certainly keeps them on their toes there. You can see the rotation as a result of it. Jisk was already back towards Speedway. Let's have a chance to overwhelm 1A. He's backside arch. Dupree forced into the sights. Chicken's still trying to work away from him. Keep him in mind. Zipex holding, waiting for the push through, finds one. Second one toward Library.
Ah, não, mano.
Jisk with the
Isso
crossfire.
pode.
A kill plus another.
Não, que
Zipex as he
isso.
turns around, somehow staying alive. Smartly turned away to make the hitbox a little bit smaller on his head, and then absolutely was ready to fight as soon as the reload was done. Stewie's left in a 1-on-4. No chance for them, as ASTRALIS is going to take a 9-7 lead, plus the pistol. Both pistols now going their way. Stewie will do what he can.
Quase
There's
estilo,
three
quase
that are
estilo.
extremely low, 36. You may be able to isolate this.
Boa estilo, vamos trazer,
Ball still
mano.
down towards CT. You can see Zipex immediately running back. Hang on, we got to hold on to that.
Yeah, well, they're going to try and run the clock down as low as they possibly can at this point. That's the right thing to do. They've actually let the bomb go. So they know Stewie can't just run up and pick the bomb up, right? He's going to assume players are dead. This is a massive risk, but oh my goodness, I thought he had another one. So MIBR go for the banana rush. I assume that was the call. I don't see what benefit they'd have faking that with all 5 players. They've got no presence towards A. They seem to cancel it. I feel like they'd have to commit with that. You use the HEs, the smokes, the flashbangs. You have nothing really left. As they go through the CT
Mano, o
spot
cara
and find the
carregando,
meat
não
grinder
pode
has
pinar assim
fallen.
não,
Really struggled that
Falenzão.
frag on Zipex,
Logo
but
você.
unfortunately didn't work out for him. It's going to be 9-7 ASTRALIS. You are absolutely right. Pick up the pistol, but remember, MIBR love to force buy in that second round. We're seeing a scout already, and our good old friend TeamSpeak has had an issue, Matthew, so we've got to wait a little bit here.
Let's see if they can get it sorted.
Outra pausa técnica, cara.
Started
O
to
que
wonder
tá
if Sonic
acontecendo
is
aí?
trying to lean in and speak to Dupree rather than communicate through the comms. So get it sorted either way. As always, Henry, it's your favorite program.
It is. I really might have to start a campaign to find a new bit of software to
Why don't
handle
you just
this.
build one? Then you can just sell it to everyone.
That's probably a good idea.
And then you can invest it in cryptocurrency and Tesla and run away to the hills.
That's
Tommy will help
the
you
best
do it.
of all the worlds combined. That's great. Well, it will be 9-7. Like I said, the force bike coming in. The guys are purchasing up. I can see Orcs coming out. Device, remember, throughout this tournament, Matt, he actually is another player embracing the new weapon. I saw you have a go of it in the show match. How did you feel?
Let's not talk about that round. The gun felt great. The round felt not so great.
Fair enough. We're seeing, though, a slow development, though. It's actually a very viable weapon in the competitive scene, and certain maps really lend itself to it, but especially Inferno. If you hold like coffins or apartments with the Orc, there's great headshot positions there, and we'll see if he can start lighting it up. Remember, though, force by Scout for Fallen, and Deagles on his teammates. Goldzera looking to find heads. This is his
Cara,
home map.
forçaram, mano. Mudou a economia. O que
He
eles estão
definitely can make them
fazendo?
victorious here
Oh,
in the
vão
second
ter
round.
que
We'll see what
ganhar
happens.
agora.
Here's the nades starting off. It's smokes, so they don't go quite as aggressive with the airstrike as we formerly have seen from ASTRALIS in rounds. They do have the massive weapon advantage, but Fallen again. We talked about this as well with the Scout. We saw it on Nuke. You don't necessarily have to get the kills with it on these rounds. You want to just get as much damage as you possibly can to allow the pistols to then capitalize on it. It is Fallen. He's more than capable of headshots, but both will suffice. Glaive gets pushed down, clears it out. Didn't need a lot of utility to do so this time. Meanwhile, back over toward the top side of mid. That is where MIBR wished to strike. Just one waiting toward pit. He'll fall off it. Very efficient in that position. He's got a smoke down in front just currently to make sure he can push out through, but he's heading in a direction of Fallen, put him on 10 already, and that's with the scout. That one's going to put him down. No chance he escapes that one. That range, that low HP, but watch Glaive. Remember, he got here without utility. He's got an overwhelming amount of players in front of him. Xyp9x tries to help in that position, get the crossfire set up. He still finds 2 for 1, but it's going to give at least 1 gun to now complement the scout.
Well, still 30 seconds remaining. They know exactly where they are. And dupreeh with the position. Probably doesn't find the kill there, considering he's got the MP9, but does a lot of damage towards Tariq, and that might dissuade them from going for this. But to be fair, they need the cash, so I assume he'll just run in and try and go for a plant here. Drop a smoke to gain them access towards the site. Actually worked out horribly because that's not taking any vision away. In fact, just block theirs.
Absolutely does.
Not great.
Yeah, and at this point as well, with 2 on 4, not a lot of time left in the round, with picking up an SMG, you can farm a bit of cash with that. And you can certainly cause reinvestment, because now we do go with the gun rounds. Oh, I take that back, they went a little more aggressive on the force, didn't they? What am I saying? So it's only 25-50. That was pre-injection on the cash. This will give reasonable chances. Well, what's Glaive going to do with 45-50? Probably go immediately M4. They're not going to try and get an op early. Device is comfortable on that AUG.
Go right, boys. Always go right.
Pass on right. Why is that hard? I think Pimp and I did that in the show match, to be fair. What am I saying? Yeah. It's probably my fault, too. Let's be honest.
We got to see clocks and BD50s there, no armor. That really was the nightmare scenario. If by that second and you don't get the plant out of it, you're going to be hamstrung now going forward in this half, and they've already lost both pistols, and it's going to be 11-7 after this round. If they can get a plant down, I'll be very impressed, but Inferno just doesn't really lend itself to cheeky plants here. Maps like Train we talk about, because you have that inside prospector pushing on the lower ramp. All 5 can overwhelm the 1 player, but Inferno, that's not really an option. You really do need smokes and flashbangs to remove vision from the CTs and push them back towards there. Spawn positions all on the bomb site. As we'll see the 5-on-3 underway. A couple of flashes. Fallen wanted to try and get them toward the bomb site, but it looks like they'll get absolutely nothing out of this. Xyp9x continues to apply the pressure. As he'll be flashed off, doesn't need to overcommit. And the Orb probably going to find its first kill, not quite. And there it is. Clean round for Astralis. Plenty of money in the bag. And now it's up to MIBR to try and answer back. They have about 5k per player. I don't think they'll bring the AWP unless Fallen wants to go glass cannon.
They do bring the AWP out for Device, though. He is going to swap it over. dupreeh was capable of doing so, and he'll take the AUG. He's comfortable with it as well.
Tá difícil, mas vamos lá. Tem mais 2 mapas.
As promising as it certainly showed to be on the CT side this map, but he's capable. He's quick. If he's having a game like he is right now, everyone on his team has 9 kills, by the way, except for him. He has 18, so he's double everyone else.
You're right. That's kind of weird, isn't it?
He is twice as good as all of his teammates.
Exactly, on the nose. Well, there it is. You can see Yanko trying to fire them up. They have got 5 AKs. They're considering the AWP purchase, but it's not going to happen. We've already explained that in the first half. It's not massively impactful in the mid stages.
Beleza. Primeira armada decente, vamos lá. Vamos lá, mano. Primeira armada, tem que ganhar. E não perder mais,
fully invested with the AWP. Throws the incendiary at the start to stop players getting towards that underpass position, but Stewie very efficient. He's going to get the kill here, no problem. He's going to take Xyp9x down. Can they get the response, though? They certainly can. Great teamwork, good flashbang. You see that incendiary following up as well as locking Stewie in position.
Glaive back around the corner, smoke deep, and Molotov close. He's able to clear. Minute 26. There's no guarantees on that side of the map, but they are going to put him low. He's been getting aggressive now twice already. We saw with the UMP just 2 rounds ago, and that's in a short amount of rounds, 4 already on this CT side that he's been there. And normally they don't get that aggressive with it. They clear, but they hold toward the top side. So a bit of a change of play from Astralis in that regard. As Device now forced off, has to go inside of the site. They will obviously have an anchor still sword forward pit. And that's going to be Majisk.
Fallen. Não.
Fallen.
Deitou você, Fallen, logo você, mano.
That's all for sale, though. Back over toward pit. Oh, Majisk flashed off. He's got another down, but Molotov's going to force him out. They've got the angle. He's got the AUG. He's got a kill. Fur gets one back, and Devices smoke. This should give them the bomb plant at the very least. Nade not going to do any further damage because it goes far, and they go safe inside of the site. Now, likely Burrow on top of it as well. Smoke for quad. That allows Fur to at least focus. He can transition on this as well, and he goes wide side triple to get back to pit.
Actually give MIBR a slight advantage here. With the fact they have this lovely crossfire setup, they bought themselves some time with that decent smoke as well. There's not really much utility in the Astralis side. This will be difficult. 2 of the best players in MIBR in position, full HP, waiting to receive Astralis, who will commit now.
Flash goes over. Fur's not caught by that. dupreeh, though, does get the first. He's not in a position where the bomb is planted for him, but he is in a position to capitalize on 2. They're on the defuse. Device is so low on HP, but he's going to hold the angle. You're right. Fur just couldn't step wide enough to ever see that defuse for Glaive. He could have held that all
O
day.
Cold não podia tomar aquela bala, mas tá bom.
You're absolutely right there. Valiant effort, but the bomb just in an awful
Beitaram
position.
Fallen,
Didn't feel
mano, não é
comfortable when they go for the
possível.
plant. Wasn't ideal. It was a nice looking crossfire there, but couldn't hit that initial shot. And it will be 12-7. Yanko doesn't look happy.
4 straight rounds Astralis on this, their CT side. None for MIBR thus far.
Absolutely right there. MIBR still with the bomb down. They have another buy available. This is maximum loss bonus now, remember, even with the 4-0, because obviously you get double the cash now after losing the pistol. Or I shouldn't say double, you get $500 extra than you used to. And that carries on and counts as an extra loss bonus, as we'll see now. AK's come forward. Trying to get them
acontecendo, MIBR?
back into this game.
Vamos, cadê a técnica, paciência, vamos lá.
To really get them over the finish line, and we'll see if this is it. Device now just shy of $10,000 as we enter round number 20. Looking quite bleak here for MIBR, but still plenty of
Beleza,
time left.
mais round armado, tranquilo. Só que não. O chão do P já rushou, mano, já deu ruim já, pegou de lado lá.
Fallen gets a response. That could have easily been 2 for Dupree.
Não tão respeitando, cara.
Would have perked up at some point when he gets that close, but Nade goes deep. Fallen tagged on 6. It's still a 4-on-4. You would think favoring MIBR. Now, I do always think that Inferno is one of the maps that
Os caras não estão
a trade doesn't
respeitando,
always
cara.
favor you in the same way because you can't
Isso
still
não
anchor to
pode
the B site. So they
acontecer.
still have 3 on A, and the low HP actually gives that position, gives the advantage still to Astralis. Great shot from Device up close, nearly found a second, but Cold. He manages to hold his composure. He's got 2. And a bomb to be planted to work with Fallen.
Same position as last time, remember. This is the plan that let them down. They've got a smoke, though, towards that library position. Fallen 6, Cold 64. They're both on the bomb side. No one in the pit. They have another smoke, which they'll deploy. But still, it's Zipex and Glaive. 2 of the best clutches in CSGO right now. Surely they're going to take this one.
Glaive on the Vespa, gets high, tries to work over the smoke. That gives him the angle on Cold. Fallen, look how clever he's being. Oh my. Standing in the smoke, is he? Yeah, I think he's lagged out. I think this is actually, oh, he's not. Okay, he is being clever. He was sitting there forever, and he wants to sneak back in. They had no idea he was there, but Glaive somehow spots him as he'd already checked the pit. If that worked, that would have been genius. I even thought he was gone.
Yeah, I was like, oh God, has that actually happened? But no, it was just sitting in the smoke as long as possible. A 10-second defuse there, really not ideal, but look how smart the positioning is, the timing. It's just beautiful to watch, and Fallen, great approach. Nice idea, and just couldn't quite find the shot required to get that.
I think it was Rush, like 3 years ago, had a famous clip.
They're sitting in the smoke.
Dust 2, corner. They smoked out from Cat. He just sat there. They all ran by. He popped out and killed like 4 of them instantly. This is another push down mid. Tarek this time does get Dupree. That's a nade.
Mano, os caras não tá respeitando, mano. Põe jogo.
Too careful here.
Que isso?
Didn't quite work out for him. Couldn't get the shot back, but look at the damage again. This still favors Astralis. 13 rounds, and money's still getting dire. They did get the plant last round that injected a lot more cash into them. The extra $800.
Isso, não tem que castigar esses caras.
At this point in the round. Zipex can't afford to be aggressive on this, so he's going to be very passive on Banana. That'll allow them to work back over in this direction and potentially give them execution as well. They've got 2 smokes still to work with, 3 flashes, a Molotov.
Todo mundo cagado já.
In the hands of Fur, and if they wanted, in the hands of Cold, where Cold has the bomb, they can get him in quick enough. They'll even potentially have a Molotov left over for the post plant.
Vamos,
Such low HP, and they're heading towards the B side. So we've had lots of aggression there. I respect them as Astralis. When you have this huge buffer of rounds in the bag, why not try get stuck in there and surprise them and shut down any adaptions they're making? Zipex at the smoke as well. That's lovely.
It is lovely, but this is exactly it. Zipex, they say this admittedly, that he plays the hardest positions on the team, and he often has to anchor. He was alone. If they had have gone through, if that smoke didn't come down, that would have been the round in itself. Now at least he gets Device to the site, but he's going to have to push through the smoke, be very aggressive on this. They could fake it back 28 seconds. This would be a really dicey mid-round call, but it's all due to the fact and position of Tarek. He's up toward the arch, unsighted, 20 seconds. All they have to do is find Magisk, but likewise, all he has to do is play the time.
Yeah.
So he's going to wait. It spots them. That'll slow their approach. Bomb is on the quad side. 12 seconds. They've got 6 to the plant. Magisk gets high again. Smoke down. That extinguishes the Molotov. You can't quite find the planter, so they will at least cover it off. Good smokes to do so. All they needed to do was isolate him. They had already cleared the other side, and now the retake is on, and he's still alive in this.
I don't know
but
how.
He's being watched like a hawk. It's actually kind of clever. MIBR just avoided him. Smoke him off. Let's get the bomb down. That's #1 priority.
They're not even that worried about him, are they? Just like, they can't kill us, so
it's
we'll
almost
leave him
frustrating. If you're Magisk right now, you're going to be super frustrated. You're relying on the aggro from your teammates, and they're taking their time getting there. Just to the front of Library now. Pop to find Cold. Still spraying through, hoping that he can get a few wall shots onto the weakened fur. Jumping up, Device can't get the aim. Terra holds it off. That's very well done from MIBR.
Yeah, really touch and go. I have
É
to
isso que a
say,
gente
the
tem que
fullback
fazer,
from
ó.
B after showing
Tem que
so
jogar
much
com
there, could have gone either
estratégia.
way. Mage is considered one of the best pit players we have in the game right now, and the fact he only gets one is surprising. I thought he would be good for two there, but very well done. MIBR calculated and calm in that situation, allowing him to stay alive and then waiting for the retake to come in. Great positioning, and it will be their first round.
É, foi a melhor coisa mesmo, mano. Entrou, plantou, tinha pouco tempo, preferiu ficar vivo do que trocar com o cara lá na areia.
Stewie, yeah, I didn't think there was going to be a gap there. He's trying to hug the wall. Stepped on one of the two Molotovs, down to 20 HP. No further nades will capitalize on that. If a single nade went in that direction, they would have had it fallen. Great shot on Glaive. Wow. We know Glaive likes to peek that position. We saw so yesterday. So this time, unlike the last few rounds, they haven't had to compensate for a trade and a deficit in HP. They've got the advantage to work with. Xyp9x now alone yet again on the B side. Bit of a cheat, leading the bases, if you want to call it that, from dupreeh as he gets back over. One debate, one to play. Remember when the cart used to be here and the one-way smoke? Krims used to be a master at this angle. It's very different now, to be fair. Flash out. It's very different for Xyp9x as well because he can't even see it. dupreeh high and
Tá mania de não olhar, mano.
T-Rex found Magisk. That's on the offside. That's on alert. Good play from Cold. That opens up
Não.
the side, but no smoke down. Device gets one more.
Oh, they got to fall back, and that's what he's doing as well.
That's actually true. He got the one pick, but he's alone, and therefore was actually thinking about saving. Yet they're going to rotate back over because once again, T-Rex the one that has the archway. Device could actually surprise them here.
He's going to get a kill depending on the timings. It's going to be Tarek, who surely... Oh, God. Not sure they spotted him there, but it looks like that's enough for Device.
He thinks that if they have, it's not even worth it. This op's going to be valuable for them because now we go 13-9, and we're getting into that very tedious time for the CTs where they're trying desperately to chase the money.
Falem maior que Device.
A great chance for MIBR to bring this one back. Two great rounds there. This shot from Fallen.
Olha esse varado. Esse varado.
He will get that opening kill.
Que ele pegou na smoke.
The response to I love this from Cold Zero. The fact Stewie went in looking on the bomb side itself, and Cold Zero there using that information. Great comms as he goes in and takes down the boosted player. It is a full eco here. They will have a buy next round with $2,400 coming in per player. Won't be the best buy, but certainly won't be the worst. We'll see Stewie trying to push them back with the HEs. This should be a foregone conclusion. We should have MIBR finding double digits still, potentially by even dropping a player. Just need to make sure they trade out kills. No one needs to commit by themselves towards middle or B. Just try and get some intel. It's a stack towards B, sort of 3 players there, but shouldn't be too hard to handle.
Molotov clears orange 1. That's fine. Device. He's hanging out with the fishes.
Olha a fonte, olha a fonte.
The Glaive will at least behind him.
Olha a fonte. Bom. É flechar e entrar, né?
One being very patient to watch CT, but that will now be smoked flashing, maybe, because they have pistols.
Boa.
Picks some damage in,
Boa.
Blend in with the
Que isso, Stewie?
Like he's immortalized in that position, but he actually is just going to go down. Cold will take out Glaive as well. Was waiting the whole time, and waiting. Shall yield results. He now gets a kill. That's going to certainly
estamos
secure
chegando.
if the
Mais
others weren't
3.
convincing enough that MIBR is going to get double digits. So it'll go 13-10. Again, this is where Astralis has to be very careful of the money. This will be a 3rd round bonus. They'll be able to buy in the next. dupreeh trying to show off his game sense.
Gets the headshot, but that's it. They give away 1 frag. Absolutely fine in that respect, but there it is, double digits. So Astralis, that big lead they built up after losing 3 rounds in a row.
Chegando, estamos chegando.
This actually looks possible now from MIBR. So Yanko looks a lot calmer. He knows they have the advantage here. Astralis with the tactical timeout, discussing their options. They are going to buy, but are they going to go for more aggression towards middle? Are they going to move the AWP around and see if Device can be as successful as he has been all tournament on Inferno? He has not purchased the AWP. It doesn't look like it'll be dropped either. They don't really have the resources to pull it out.
AK's fallen this time. Has the option of the op. I think there's an AK down for him. Stewie, is it spawn-based? T-side up for Stewie? I'm imagining it. I was going to say, imagining it has to be at that point.
He presumably just goes and straight up faces banana or holds a T-steps and awaits a device pick. Those are his two options, really.
Só mais
And it
6.
looks like he will be challenging a B. Going to drop the smoke to deny the incendiary. Molotov in as well. And looking for that pick, no one there to find. But still, he has got banana.
He was almost too... Yes, okay, job done in that sense. But he was almost too good at taking the position. That Molotov that he threw out, as well as the self-preserving smoke, forced them off too quickly. But you're right, look at that nade. Down to 40 HP. I would have expected at this point they would have switched it back, but they actually want to go aggressive toward the top of middle. Cole, the only one that gets a kill. Dupree sprays down with 2. And Fallen still sitting back on the AK. Has Stewie rejoined him, but they're down by 2 men. And Astralis with guns back look to find 14. Put themselves within 2 of closing out on map number 1. Overpass is next.
Scary prospect again.
Fallen will work first. Still haven't switched the gun back. They're going to leave it at this point. Stewie seemingly happy to hold on to the AWP. Certainly capable at times. We've seen that in the past. Certainly on this map at the Major. In January. Jisk peeks out in spots too. Nades will do further damage. Maybe not. Went inside the site. Not out. If it had gone outside, it would have potentially put them down to within red HP. Both of them, because they were close enough together. Stewie's starting to be aware that timing is working against them, and there could be someone in behind. 2 in the pit's going to be a problem. Yeah, Dupree easily able to spray on that with the information, even if they isolate Majisk.
Oh, fine. That's true.
He tries to find one, but there's the arrival of his MX-14 for Astralis.
Absolutely true. Astralis now touching distance of picking up the first map in this best of 3. You'll see that spray down working in tandem there from Quad. There's a player at Arch as well that's raining down hell through the smoke, finding so much damage as well. And Stewie had already taken that Mitzi grenade at the very start. So it was difficult for Fallen himself to actually do anything about it. You can see the money, if they lose this round, not only be map point, they'll have nothing left.
Que agonia.
But there is Fallen in towards that underpass. Device has his sniper as well. As the battle rages on here at B, the banana area has become a fortress for Astralis these days. Very difficult.
Acho que eu vou ter que voltar a assistir o Corinthians jogar, porque o MIBR não tá dando, cara.
They'll flash him off, but fires off a shot. Does that connect? Was that hit on Fur? No, it was not. So they've managed to get Device off the corner at least. A good grenade should do reasonable damage here to Dupree. Might as well stay there now. He's committed.
Yeah. Wouldn't be worth it to lose the HP and not play the position. Make it worth it. If we can get a kill, that's for sure. Looks like we'll go back over toward A as well. The smoke will be a bit of a problem for Device, so instead he'll Molotov it to try and get...
full.
Yeah, really. Scoped in, didn't see that it was spreading there, did he?
I think he was hoping that the fact if he sits in the flames, the CTs might think it's safe and he'll take a risk there, but yes, it didn't work out either way. And they'll go back towards the B site. That's a brave move, like we said. Zipex now and Glaive, who is the usual player. Device has gone back towards the A sites, but they're so good, these two. I'm not sure how he shut them down. Fall and the timing there, that's so close. But it does pull off a rotation. You can see Glaive has left Zipex now, so he doesn't get the kill, but it's enough to buy them some time.
With 19 seconds, absolutely. We're going to gamble on it. Zipex!
Boa.
Really had a chance to line them up. Gets one.
Planta a bomba, planta a bomba.
Stewie's low. He didn't spray in to find him that
6
time.
segundos.
If he had, it might have been the round that itself. Instead, Stewie sees the tracers and punishes him for it. It's
Que
3 on
isso,
3.
mano. Isso quase
MIBR with the sight,
deu
the ball
ruim.
down. Astralis with very little to work with in terms of utility. They have a kit from a Jisk.
Cara, não pode fazer
isso,
cara.
Device has found a fall and just holding the angle with patience. Didn't buy the bite on the shoulder bait, so now it's going to be Majisk swinging back in. The AWP is, I was going to say, bomb 2 for gone. The AWP is all they want, but Fallen well aware that that M4 hit the deck, and he's able to close it out.
Well, there it is. Somehow they managed to make the round work there. It was looking disastrous with the bomb down in the smoke and spawn. The sound cues Glaive had available to him. I thought he was going to get the kill on Stewie's UK. He goes down to that Galil. The must-win round for MIBR comes in, and it's going to reset Astralis once again, who only saved 1 AK-47. That's in the hands of Dupree. A frustrating round there for the Danes. And we'll see if they take the full eco out. I assume they will. It's going to allow MIBR to get really, really close at this point to tying things up. This could be a double eco, or they might even force into it. We'll have a look at what setup we're going with. And Zipex, he invests a lot, down to $700 here. So they've got CZs, 1 AK, and they're going to treat it like a gun round now. You can see they've got the smokes here. There's enough firepower to win the round. So we'll see if Dupree can find a quick first pick. Not going to happen. Pulls back his forward and holds strong in the underpass there.
It's a big win to get the 11th, the reset Astralis as well. Oh, Stewie, that's perfect. He can hear them running back. Knows that the flash is certainly going to give him the position. Not really much to worry about unless there's someone else. So checks the corners, the angles, Fallen, jumps the hop in, tries to go for a fast pick towards CT. That was a set shot. He would fire no matter what when he landed. Doesn't matter if he had a smoke or a flash or if someone was there or not. He was always going to shoot. With the AK gone, that's the only gun. That could be the round in itself if they continue to wrap onto A. The only one left over there is Magisk, and Device already squandered in his chances to try and take back Arch. Glaive, great shot though on Defer. I will give him that. AK down. Just keep that in mind in that position. So Tarek probably won't go far from here.
They've actually rotated towards B though. There was no chance for Astralis, but MIBR are opening the door of opportunity. These kills decided, really. It's Stewie to try and find both. Can't do it, though. Matt, this is falling apart. That is going to be bombed down with a smoke as well. Glaive can recover a rifle at this stage. He'll hear players on the other side. This is actually looking very promising. One round away from map point. The flashbang is decent, but Glaive has to sit in the smoke. They know he's there. They're spraying away. That's a big kill. That opens up the B side here, and the rotations have to come through from Device and Magisk.
Smoke down late. They do get the other AK that was toward the Arch. Fallen taps. He's not convinced they're alone at this point in time. Checks out Emo positions. New box as well. Tarek does get Magisk. It's all on Device. He's got to push the smoke. Tarek still looking in. They don't have the call on this. They don't know if he's still towards CT. Fallen should be looking in this direction. He's not. Does see him now. I was going to say. Should have had the angle. 12 for MIBR. They just barely pulled that back, all things considered.
Yeah, Glaive there. He was the one that decided.
Mais um. Vamos lá, dá pra chegar, dá pra chegar.
Did such a good job to even get in this spot. Zipex with the CZ, but Glaive had already found a kill at this point. That was his second. Gets the AK. If the smoke had been a little bit deeper, I think he actually wins it. But Tarek holding strong there. Finds Magisk, and it has to be a partial buy at this point. Astralis still can't find map points. Deagle CZ, no armor, no nades. This should be 14-13.
Cold. Close wall. Does find Magisk. Second peek for him, and it yields nothing. Pistols, I guess, was always going to go for a headshot. Might as well give it a chance. He'll keep the same angle covered off as Nate goes into this time. 14 kills for him, and Stewie will now take over responsibilities at Banana to do the same. Try and find his second kill. The man he's looking for jumps high, gets wide, but spotted. Stewie's not going to run after that. Certainly aware he's back in the sight. Can't quite see him behind the fountain. It's a clever position. Works every now and then, but not when you're wise as these guys. 14-13.
Vamos lá, mais 3. Pra fechar. Que agonia, mano, que agonia.
Allow me to explain.
No, the money situation, I certainly agree. It's a possibility.
All it's going to take is one round for Astralis to get, then reset. And the money's not fantastic. We'll see Device with the AWP, their final pause coming in. We'll see Zipex.
Maluco, que agonia assistir. Tá difícil assistir, hein? Eles demoram a esquentar, cara. Demora a entrar no bombe. Tudo pro último segundo. Nossa, que loucura, mano. Tá bom, tá bom. Tá chegando. Mais 3 pontinhos.
MIBR getting closer and closer now. They've got a nice reservoir of cash as well. Fallen $8,000 as we head into round number 28, going the full distance here. Flashbang over, aggressive stuff in the CTs. And we'll see them push through the smoke, waiting for the grenades to be thrown down. Stewie doesn't take as much damage this time. 4 players.
Que isso, tá todo mundo ali.
Zipex jumps up to spot 1, they get closer. He'll back away, he's not unwise to the fact that there's no need to give away our pick early. This is a desperate round for Astralis, given the situation, given the money. They could tie this back up at MIBR. I can even see it with this round going 16-14 in their favor. Some residual cash still left over on the MIBR side as well, even if they aren't able to succeed in this round. All waiting to see if there'll be any further aggression. The Molotov suggests otherwise. Device. He'll play it from CT and wait for them to get back in, but he is going to be smoked off. Flashed as well, that won't matter. He's got cold. First one successful, and Zipex trying to buy some space will slow them down. Device goes back for more, and Tarek's next in line. Zipex feels confidence based on that to spray in. Fur has to hold the corner and get away. Already you can see it. They've sent Stewie to the other side of the map thinking desperately, can we get something done?
Well, that's much more like it from Device. We'll see what they can do as they fall back towards A, but they've got one player positioned in Arch that's fallen. He has to find opening picks here, but they're running out of time. 25 seconds here. They have one smoke, one Molotov. Stewie's low. There is a player in Arch now. They'll use that one smoke to get to that position and try and split between Quad and the Arch side. I don't think this will work out. This is surely Astralis posting that point.
Dupree ready. Magisk holding. As the fans say, there's 10 seconds, and Dupree's got the crossfire set. Stewie finds one, Magisk on the other. That should be a round in itself, but Fallen does at least get one back for redemption. I thought maybe you get the bomb, but it was on 4 seconds when he hit the kill, so no chance. It's map point Astralis.
And this is why overtime is looking very likely, because you can see 2 players survive on the Astralis side. If they give this one up, it's a full reset, and they'll have no cash remaining. Device, he does such a great job here. The fact he challenges once again, just as they're ready for him. He catches them the nades out. So fantastic work. As we enter round 29, the full distance coming in here. Astralis have a chance to close up the first map right here, right now. Final, one more tactical timeout remaining from MIBR. They're using one right now. Money is there for the AWP once again. Stewie purchases it. It's Fallen, I assume, that needs to drop. There's going to be a compromise here. We'll see how influential it is. A UMP as well for Magisk and Glaive, and that's why this looks like MIBR might be able to... Oh, double orb on the T side. Yanko's called this. I've seen it before from MIBR. I've questioned him about it, and he says, you know what, these guys, they want to use it, they're ready. They feel like they can shut something down here.
Apartments as well. Fallen, that's aggressive. Certainly can give him the angle if anyone wants to get aggressive against him, but he also can try and pick in. Stewie was obviously going to go this way. He's done it before. Stays away from the... Oh, that's exactly the shot. That's exactly it. If Dupree pushes, Fallen has that all day long, and Stewie's going to follow it up. The double up might just work. He stayed away from the tree to avoid the nades this time. No Molotov. Stewie gets a second, and now Device goes back out trying to make amends with the fact he's lost 2 teammates, but it's only a tag. Through the edge of the wall, Tarek's down to 20, and Stewie's still on 24, but they've got all 5 alive, and they've got the Arch to work with. That wants to go first. Keep in mind the bomb is still way back toward T-stairs because they know there has to be a CT response at this point in time. No need to get caught out in Banana and give that away. Zipix is even getting uncomfortable. He's got to search around. Good find on Fallen. They would not have expected him to leave this site. He's such a good anchor player. It's not often you see him drifting in the waters. As Cold finds Magisk, it does still big problems worse though. 4. Astralis Zipix continues to be aggressive on this. They now know he's left B. And smartly, they want to go back to it, but he's not far away. He can get there. Oh, this is even better, too, because if they push that smoke, he's got flames on the inside of it that'll take damage. They've got a second one. They'll extinguish, but it gives him time to get to ruins. Look at the HP. Oh, he's got a second Zipix. How does he steal back the round? Brilliant as he finds 4. All of them being proactive, all of them with utility. And now Cold, with 48, has to get the bomb down before Device arrives. And Device, UMP, 48 HP. Cold is so accurate the second the bomb's planted.
Ice cold, absolutely.
Que isso, cara, que isso.
It goes 15-14. It's the full reset. Astralis have absolutely nothing remaining. What an epic performance from Zipix to even make it possible, but it wasn't enough. The double spray down, they commit through the smoke. That was a 4-on-2 situation. It comes down to the 1-on-1. Device through his all way for the UMP as well. If he had the AWP there, Matt, I dare say he wins it.
Beleza, então pro overtime.
UMP instead of the AWP.
It's impressive that Cole got that shot off that quickly. I thought Device might have it just because of the 48 HP. I'm going to suggest that perhaps someone called he was lower than he was.
Sure.
For him to pick up that weapon at that range. But this is exactly where overtime, you're right, becomes a possibility. Because now look at it, 15-14, no money for Astralis.
Yeah, it's almost a likelihood at this point because you've got nothing on the CT side. 3 pistols, an SMG, and a shotgun. This is the last chance for Astralis to close it out in regulation. It's not looking good, and again, aggressive, of course. They're going to lose a player here. Surely, Zipix taken down. One more bullet there would have dropped him. He's at 28 HP. Smokes and presumably flashbangs coming in next. It's Device with a CZ. Oh my God! It's the pistol, and Mages helped him out. They might have done it. 3 kills at the start. It's a 4-on-2. Mages surely goes down here, but he's holding.
Não é possível.
Absolutely epic. They close out the map 16-14.
Que isso, mano? Que isso? Que isso?
My God, it all goes wrong in the very final moments there for MIBR.
16-14 on the back of an incredible